HOA President Patricia angrily visited our home. She saw my pregnant wife Mia's flower pots on our balcony. Patricia yelled about rules, then kicked Mia's legs. Mia fell over the railing at the hospital. We lost our baby. Neighbors helped us fight back. Patricia went to jail. We created Sophia's Law in memory of our daughter. Dot before watching full story. Comment below from where you're watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. The sharp knock on our apartment door came at exactly 2:15 p.m. on a sunny Tuesday afternoon. I was in our small kitchen preparing lunch, while Maya, my 7-month pregnant wife, rested peacefully on our balcony, enjoying the spring breeze as she watered the colorful marigolds we had planted together. "Coming?" I called, wiping my hands on a dishcloth as I moved toward the door. When I opened it, I found myself face to face with a woman whose appearance immediately set me on edge. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a severe bun that seemed to stretch her skin unnaturally tight. Her thin lips were pressed into a disapproving line, and her eyes narrowed as they took in my casual home clothes. "I'm Patricia Wilson, president of the Oakage Estates Homeowners Association," she announced without a greeting, clutching a leather folder to her chest. "There have been several complaints about your unit." Before I could even respond, she pushed past me into our apartment, the scent of expensive perfume trailing behind her as her heels clicked aggressively against our hardwood floor. "Excuse me, you can't just," I began, but she cut me off with a dismissive wave. "As HOA president, I have the authority to inspect potential violations," she stated coldly, marching directly toward our balcony where Mia sat. I hurried after her, a sense of dread building in my chest. We had only moved into Oakage Estates 3 months ago, drawn by its beautiful landscaping and proximity to good schools. Our dream was simple: raise our daughter in a peaceful neighborhood where she could grow up happy and safe. Patricia stopped abruptly at our balcony doorway, her posture stiffening as she spotted Ma's flower pots. "This is completely unacceptable." Her voice sliced through the peaceful afternoon like a knife. "Flower pots on balcony railings are explicitly forbidden in Section 5.3 of the HOA guidelines. They're a falling hazard." Mia looked up, startled by the sudden intrusion. Her hand instinctively moved to protect her swollen belly as confusion crossed her face. "I'm sorry, I didn't realize," Mia began softly, struggling to rise from her chair. "Ignorance of the rules is not an excuse," Patricia snapped, stepping onto the balcony and gesturing wildly at the small row of colorful pots. "These must be removed immediately. This is the third violation I've documented from your unit." I moved forward, positioning myself between this hostile woman and my pregnant wife. "We weren't aware of any previous violations. If there's an issue with the flowers, we'll gladly move them right now." Patricia's face flushed with anger. "Previous notices were left regarding your welcome mat, which exceeds the permitted dimensions by 2 inches, and your curtains, which are not the approved beige or white." Maya had managed to stand now, one hand still protectively cradling her belly. "We're very sorry. We're still learning the rules. Please, let's discuss this calmly." Calmly. Patricia's voice rose even higher. "Do you have any idea of the liability issues here? If one of these pots fell and injured someone below, the entire association could be sued." "Then we'll remove them right now," I said firmly, trying to de-escalate the fines. That evening, our doorbell rang. I opened it to find Mrs. Gonzalez, our elderly neighbor from across the hall, standing there with tears in her eyes. "I saw what happened," she said softly. "I saw her kick your wife. That horrible woman. I've been afraid to speak up for years, but not anymore. Not after this." Mrs. Gonzalez wasn't the only one. As word spread through the building about our tragedy, neighbors began coming forward. Each had their own story about Patricia: excessive fines for minor infractions, personal vendettas, unauthorized entries into homes, threats against anyone who questioned her authority. "She's been terrorizing people for years," explained Mr. Patel from Unit 4B. "Most of us just pay the fines because fighting her seems impossible. She controls the entire board." A spark of determination cut through my grief. Maya had retreated into herself, barely eating, barely speaking. Our daughter was gone, but I could still fight for justice. For Maya, for Sophia, and for every resident who had suffered under Patricia's reign of terror. I started documenting everything. Mrs. Gonzalez provided a written statement about what she had witnessed from her window. Mr. Patel showed me years of questionable fines he had meticulously saved. A former board member who had moved to a different floor revealed that Patricia had been embezzling from the HOA funds for years. Meanwhile, Patricia seemed to be doubling down, perhaps sensing the growing resistance. She sent daily notices about new alleged violations, each with increasing fines. "She's scared," Mrs. Gonzalez observed when I showed her the latest notice. "She knows you could sue, so she's building a paper trail to make you look like problematic residents." 2 weeks after the accident, I organized a community meeting at the local library. I expected perhaps a dozen people to show up. More than 60 residents came. One by one, they shared their stories. An elderly couple fined because their grandson's tricycle was visible on their patio for an hour. A single mother threatened with eviction because her wind chimes were non-regulation. A family harassed daily because their son with autism sometimes made noise that Patricia deemed disruptive. When it was my turn to speak, the room fell silent. "My wife was 7 months pregnant," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Because Patricia Wilson deliberately kicked my pregnant wife during an argument over a flower pot. Our daughter Sophia will never take her first breath, never say her first word, never have her first day of school." The room remained completely silent, many eyes filled with tears. This isn't just about bylaws or property values. This is about a community where people should feel safe in their own homes, where an expectant mother should be able to sit on her balcony without fear, where rules serve the residents, not torture them. By the end of the meeting, we had formed an action committee and collected enough signatures to force an emergency HOA meeting. A local attorney who lived in the building offered his services pro bono to help us navigate the legal process. The emergency meeting was scheduled for the following Monday evening. Word had spread throughout the entire complex and the community room was packed beyond capacity. Patricia arrived with her usual folder of complaints, her face set in its typical stern expression. But her confident stride faltered when she saw the crowd. "This meeting is out of order," she began, but was immediately interrupted by Mrs. Gonzalez, who had volunteered to lead the meeting. According to Section 7.22 of our bylaws, residents can call for a review of leadership when supported by signatures from at least 20% of homeowners. "We have signatures from 63%, the elderly woman stated firmly. What followed was 3 hours of residents stepping forward to share their experiences. Patricia's face grew increasingly pale as story after story exposed her abuse of power. When security camera footage was shown of her entering homes without permission, audible gasps filled the room. When it was my turn again, I presented the medical reports detailing Ma's injuries and the loss of our daughter. Many residents openly wept. "My wife hasn't left our bedroom in 2 weeks," I told them. "She blames herself, wondering if she had just known about the flower pot rule. Our daughter would still be alive. But I know the truth. This tragedy didn't happen because of a flower pot. It happened because one person violently kicked a visibly pregnant woman off a balcony. The vote to remove Patricia from the HOA board was unanimous. Additionally, the members voted to cooperate fully with the police investigation into criminal assault and the financial audit that had been initiated. As Patricia stormed out, her face contorted with rage. A resident called out, "For years we were afraid of you, but not anymore." That night, for the first time since the accident, Maya emerged from our bedroom on her own. She had been listening to the entire meeting through a phone call I had left open. "You stood up for her," she whispered, sinking onto the couch beside me. "For Sophia? For both of you," I said, taking her hand. "And for this community?" The legal proceedings moved swiftly. The evidence against Patricia was overwhelming, from witness testimonies about the balcony incident to the financial irregularities discovered during the audit. 3 months later, we sat in the courtroom as the judge delivered his verdict. "The court finds the defendant guilty of assault resulting in the loss of unborn life, unlawful entry, harassment, and embezzlement," he announced. "The defendant is sentenced to 5 years in prison and ordered to pay restitution to the affected families." Patricia's face crumpled as the reality of the consequences finally hit her. Outside the courthouse, our neighbors gathered around us, offering support and solidarity. What had once been a fractured community living in fear had unified in the face of injustice. That evening, Maya and I visited the small memorial garden the community had created in a quiet corner of the complex. A stone bench bore a simple plaque in memory of Sofia Ramirez and for all those who have suffered injustice. May compassion always prevail over rules. Maya placed a small bouquet of marigolds beside the plaque, her hand lingering on the cool stone. She would have been beautiful, she whispered. Yes, I agreed, wrapping my arm around her shoulders. Just like her mother, the healing would be slow. Some wounds never fully heal. But as we walked back to our apartment, hand in hand, Maya paused at the entrance to our building. I think I'm ready, she said quietly. For what? To paint the nursery, not yellow this time, maybe blue, and maybe someday it will be a nursery again. I felt tears spring to my eyes as I squeezed her hand. The pain would always be there, but alongside it now was a flicker of hope, of possibility. The new HOA board, led by Mrs. Gonzalez and 4 other residents committed to fairness, had already implemented changes. The first new rule, unanimously approved, was simple. No regulation shall ever supersede basic human compassion and dignity. They called it Sophia's Law. As Maya and I climbed the stairs to our apartment, I felt a strange peace settling over me. Our daughter's time with us had been brief, too brief, but her impact would endure. Because of her, an entire community had found its voice. Because of her, other expectant mothers would sit safely on their balconies without fear. And someday, when we were ready, perhaps another child would hear the story of the sister they never met. The little girl whose existence, however short, had changed everything. That night, for the first time in months, Maya slept peacefully in my arms, and I could have sworn I felt a gentle breeze brush across my face, like the softest touch of a tiny hand saying goodbye.